Hey guys, CreamCrazy here, welcoming you to my Extreme Rules 2014 predictions video. I'm sorry this has come late. It's been annoying with iMovie basically fucking me over, but it's here now, so that's the important thing. Now, WrestleMania was amazing. No, please, let me just re-say that again. WrestleMania was amazing, and the problem with that is we have to have a pay-per-view that follows that up, and usually in a post-WrestleMania slump, the pay-per-view doesn't really hold its own, and people often look at pay-per-views like Extreme Rules and say, wow, this wasn't as good as WrestleMania, it's not going to be as good as WrestleMania, the feuds aren't going to have that much importance, and we really aren't going to give it too much notice. I mean, even when Extreme Rules has some fantastic matches, it never really seems that big. Even with some of the matches they have on show, it doesn't really make the fans' intrigue spike. Although this technically is a bit of an exception, because Raw has been on a roll, WWE has given us some interesting feuds, and hopefully this will be a good show. Let's all hope. Let's get on with the predictions then. Starting off with the WLC, which a lot of you are shaking your head about. Hornswoggle vs El Torito. Now, a lot of you are saying this is a really bad idea. Well, IWC, let me tell you this. There's no championship match in the pre-show, and there's no person apparently getting buried, according to you, so there really shouldn't be a problem here. I mean, this is the simple type of fairground comic attraction that pro wrestling has had since the fairground days back in the early 1900s, when people did just go up there and beat each other up, or have midgets fighting each other for people's amusement. It's just part of how wrestling has become and aged. And to see this on pay-per-view, I'm not too fussed. I mean, technically, this is the free part you get to watch on YouTube. You're not paying for this, so why are you angry? It's your choice not to watch it or not. The thing is, for me, I'm finding it rather intriguing because I keep thinking to myself, is there going to be a change in the top of the guard in WWE's midget little person division, which is really stupid because there isn't even a division. But you kind of see where I'm going at here, because El Torito is making himself quite well known in the fact that he's overshadowed his tag team and is effectively more popular than Hornswoggle ever could be, which is understandable. Now, this match, I have no idea what's going to happen in it. It seems that there's going to be a few stepladder spots, maybe some table spots, and I can suspect a tadpole splash off something through something. I'm guessing. And Los Matadors, 3MB, will probably make themselves known here, as this is an ODQ match, obviously, and they'll probably cause all kinds of hell. So you know what? That should make this match reasonably entertaining. I mean, I'm hoping it's not really short, but then again, a lot of the fans are hoping it's really short, just so they can get it out of their system and never have to see it again. So I'm going to go for El Torito on the win here, just because Hornswoggle just seems like he's done it all, and needs to give some bit of a rub to his lesser opponent, shall we say. I mean, technically, El Torito may have been in the Royal Rumble and made more of an impact than Hornswoggle did in 2010, but the fact of the matter is, he's just more of an entertaining character, and people want to see more of him. Unlike another Bull-esque gimmick, Mantor. God, if I have to mention that again, I'm going to puke. Then I got onto the main card, starting off with a 2-on-1 handicap match between Alexander Rusev and the team of R-Truth and Xavier Woods. Now, this should be formulaic and simple, isn't it? Two heroes, two faces, teaming up to take on the fire-breathing dragon. Unfortunately, they're going to get burnt. And that's really, really easy to predict, because if you've got a guy like Alexander Rusev, who is a monster, he's going to win. It's pretty simple, it's Wrestling Logic 101, it's Wrestling Storytelling 101, and I can understand maybe for the beginning part of the match, you're going to see Rusev get beaten up by these two, obviously to show the numbers game, and then, wow, magic strength abilities. They enable him to do much, much more. So, when I look at this match, it just seems very formulaic, very simple, and it's just predictable as hell. It's going to probably end up being the filler match between the two main event matches at the end of the card, because it's that kind of match that people don't have that much interest in, but it'll probably weigh out to be something that'll be of some use, I hope. And you know what? I want to tell you guys something. Are you sick of hearing people not get the Bulgarian brute's nationality right? Some fans are kind of idiots, by saying, that Alexander Rusev is Russian or he's some kind of Soviet guy. Bulgaria may have used to be in the Soviet Union, but it ain't anymore. It's its own independent country. And people sometimes forget that, but the fact that Lana is Russian, they then immediately think, I don't care that he's called the Bulgarian Brute, I'm just going to call him Russian as well. I will say this, he is typically a foreign heel from the very less east side of the Eastern Bloc than a guy like Vladimir Kozlov was, or Nikolai Volkov was, but the fact of the matter is, it's still a gimmick which has been recycled and reused from time to time. Let's just hope something else comes out of his gimmick that'll give us some interest. And this will be the first in what will hopefully be many wins for his character. Alexander Rusev for the win. Next, we have a triple threat match with Rob Van Dam, Cesaro with Paul Heyman, and Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter. Now, this match would be interesting if RVD was not a factor in it. Why? Because this would have said to the world that Jack Swagger's a heel and Cesaro is a face. But of course, you've got Paul Heyman in the corner of Cesaro. Does that technically mean he's a heel? And the WWE have kind of been confusing us a lot, because we have been cheering our asses off for the Swiss Superman, and they're making us want to boo him. Which kind of makes the dynamic of this match a little flawed, because you therefore, this match now, have a face, a heel, and a tweener who technically isn't even a tweener. So, yeah, that's a bit messed up, isn't it? And the other reason RVD really is here is just to add some speed to the match and make the pace better, because, okay, Cesaro is kind of quick, and so is Jack Swagger, but these guys are methodical, technical wrestlers. They're not going to put on some flashy match that'll get people's attention, so having RVD in there makes some sense. I mean, I like the idea that RVD is going against Paul Heyman. It's quite interesting to see after last time these guys were in any form of program together. And honestly, this should be quite an entertaining match. But there's only one winner that can come out of it, and that is Antonio Cesaro. Why? It just makes valid sense. He won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania, and he's got Paul Heyman on his side. That's just the ingredients for success. Although, the question I have to ask is, what are they going to do with him afterwards? Because already people are just getting a little bit irritated. Because they want to cheer Cesaro. They're not allowed to, apparently. But then again, that hasn't stopped us before. But then isn't that what WWE are trying to do? Are they trying to just make us cheer him over the heel vibe to start this Daniel Bryan-esque thing? The thing with Daniel Bryan's situation was, it felt very natural. You don't want to force something like this, otherwise it'll just go wrong. I'm thinking with Paul Heyman by his side, a string of good victories and some good matches will come from Cesaro, but I don't exactly know what it'll do. Will he be an Intercontinental Champion by the end of the year? Will he be the World Champion by the end of the year? Will he be Money in the Bank holder by the end of the year? At the moment, we just don't know. But with Paul Heyman by his side, that should be something interesting, and honestly something useful, because it means, bar none, that he will achieve something this year, but where that's going, I have no idea. Same thing with Swagger. I don't know what's going to happen with him. And RVD, well, again, this is just going to be a good placeholder. And hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if this is an opening contest on the card, actually, to get people going. And then to have Cesaro win in the opening match will keep him fresh in our minds until the bigger matches come up later. So, overall, that could be a good idea. So I'm going to go for Cesaro just because it just makes sense, just based on the momentum they've had. He may have lost in the tournament, but that doesn't really matter. He's still got that momentum of Paul Heyman in his corner, so he should be all good. Next, Tamina Snuka versus the Divas Champion Paige. Now, this is intriguing for a number of reasons. One, it's Paige's first title defense on pay-per-view. All well and good. Second, it's her first try, in WWE at least, against someone bigger than her. And that's something I really want to point out, because this is where the interesting dynamic comes in. Tamina is taller and physically larger, and we haven't seen a diva that size go after Paige yet, so it'll add an interesting way of seeing how she manages to wrestle that, which will be pretty cool. Also, the link to AJ Lee will of course help in the story, and I'm hoping that Tamina gets a good showing here, because a couple of times I've seen her in matches over the last year, it just hasn't really tickled my fancy. It makes me think, this really isn't that interesting. I mean, she has her dad's finishing move, she's quite menacing, but that's it. I want to see more, and hopefully this will be a good chance to showcase her talent to the fans. That's important, that's what it's there for. And also, I'm looking forward to where this will go from here, because this should be an entertaining match, and hopefully for the first time, this will be a Divas match that isn't a bathroom break, because we've got two wrestlers who can actually wrestle on the women's front. And the one thing about going forward is AJ will insert herself back in eventually, and people are throwing the scenario of Tamina winning the title, which will then go on forward and having AJ return to take her on. But then again, will Paige lose on her first pay-per-view title defense? No. So it'll probably happen at the next pay-per-view, knowing how storyline feuds go. I mean, technically, if it's a triple threat match at the next pay-per-view, then that'll be awesome as well. So, when you think about it, this should be an interesting match with a lot going forward. This is going to cement Paige's position as the top diva. It'll show to people who are still doubting her ability, even though they really shouldn't, and it'll give Tamina a spotlight. Overall, it's a win-win for all concerned, and the future of this feud looks quite bright. So overall, why would you be disappointed with this? Why would you want to take a bathroom break through this? This is a good idea and a good place to see. I mean, I'd probably stick this in the middle of the card, say after the Bray Wyatt Cena match, probably. Then you've got the Shield Evolution match, then you've got the Rusev match, then you've got the main event championship match. That's how I would structure the card, and it'll just make sense to have the flow of the night go oh so smoothly. Next, we have the finals of the Intercontinental Championship Tournament, with Bad News Barrett trying to win the title off incumbent Big E. Now, the thing with this match is, it's pretty much writing on the wall since the moment this tournament started that whoever was going to win it was going to take that title from Big E Langston. There's no doubt. Because you look at Big E's title run, it hasn't been the most convincing. I mean, sure, he's a very intense competitor who is actually quite over with the crowd, and the WWE brass seem to like him. There's a small problem, though. When he's actually gone on to pay-per-view, his title matches haven't been the most convincing of shows, and he didn't have a good showing in the Royal Rumble either, when I really expected him to dominate. Not to mention the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2. He just came off as not really being able to do what he had to do. It just looked very underwhelming and just didn't give off the type of vibe we all expected from the guy. So, when you look at a guy like Bad News Barrett, who spent months on the sidelines, and just not taking in anything, he just went on and berated people, and I remember people were saying, oh, Bad News Barrett is going to ruin him, Wade Barrett's never going to wrestle again, he's just going to be buried in the undercard forever. He's fighting for the IC title, and people said he was going to fail? Yeah. Swallow your pride, arseholes. And, honestly, look at Wade Barrett's character. People like it. It's interesting. People care. And to have the Intercontinental title on him will be good for the title as well as him, because it makes people look and go, okay, this guy's mic work is entertaining and just damn right cool. You've got a guy who is physically intimidating in the ring and then some. He has momentum going forward that showcases he is actually going somewhere now. So, put the Intercontinental title on that. Some prestige, which people say has been lacking, could actually work out here. And that's fantastic. I mean, overall, it just makes a case for Wade Barrett, or Bad News Barrett as he's now known, to have that title for the fourth time. And people have been saying, he doesn't need the Intercontinental title, but the Intercontinental title needs him. And if we want to keep Wade Barrett on the card, where people are happy, and he's doing something, this will mean that this title gets some form of showing. So you know what? Wade Barrett, Bad News Barrett, you're going to walk out as the champion. It was written on the wall that the winner of this Intercontinental title tournament would get that title, and I'm pretty certain that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, John Cena versus Bray Wyatt inside a steel cage. He's got the whole world in his hands, along with John Cena's brain, emotions, and cojones, by the looks of it. So, this is an interesting conundrum. You know, Bray Wyatt lost at WrestleMania, and people lost their shit. Seriously, the amount of times I got a message from either Final Limit or Large 85 highlighting their disdain, along with other people, kind of highlights that, yeah, they were not too happy with that. Although I can understand why Bray lost at Mania, because it overall just made sense in the long run. I mean, you can lose and still look like $1 million, like I keep saying, and that's exactly what happened. However, at this match, you have to think that Bray has the advantage. I mean, usually when someone loses to Cena, they just fizzle away and never really get much of a chance. Look at Batista from 2010, and you'll see my point. Look at Ryback in last year even. And honestly, Bray Wyatt still has a lot of momentum going into this. He's obviously gotten on the mic and done some great things with that. I mean, hell, last week on Raw, he had Cena just looking completely deflated, completely beaten, and he was even venting on the crowd, for God's sake, saying to the crowd, "Why did you pick me against the Wyatt family? Why?" And it's cool that they're interweaving this stuff in, that Cena is actually looking weak for once. And I know I said that prior to WrestleMania, but it adds more of a story. And you put this guy, who has Cena's head in his hands, on a stage like this, when he's got the upper hand once again, but inside a cage, where Cena has to fight his way through not just the physical war games, but the mental war games, which the mental ones he's not even been winning. On the physical level, he's only just barely gotten through, and on a mental level, he only just got through just enough to win the match at Mania. I mean, this is obviously going to be a hard match for Cena to win psychological-wise, well, in regards to story and mental psychology, but you look at it and think, Wyatt's got this. And I'm hoping that's the case because people have been saying, including myself, if Bray wins this, imagine what happens. You beat Cena, you're immediately going against Daniel Bryan. Because seriously, one of these two is going to fight Bryan at some point in this year, and it's going to be Bray Wyatt, just to iron out the feud and say, hey, Bray, here's a chance to try to take out Bryan again, to only have Bryan get the upper hand this time to finish that feud off completely. And that'll be kind of cool. So, to see Bray Wyatt win would be the best option for this feud, it'd be the best option for this overall thing, and honestly, it would actually mean, later down the line, if you wanted to see a John Cena versus Bray Wyatt 3 to be the rubber match, it could easily be separated, and Cena would just walk away from this after losing and go, okay, I'm going to refocus. I've bitten off more than I can chew here, and then I'm going to go through, do some things, and then come back and see if I can take this guy out when I'm more mentally clear. And that will hopefully be something that happens. Honestly though, people have been saying John Cena beating Bray Wyatt would then lead Bray Wyatt to go even further than he already has, causing even more pain and suffering, which would probably then lead up to a match at Payback where the winner goes into the Money in the Bank or something like that, where Bray would finally get the win and then get more momentum going forward. And a lot of people are thinking that, good mic work especially. And I look at this and think, you know what? So far on the card we have a Rusev heel win, a Cesaro heel win, you've then got a Barrett heel win. When you look at it, it doesn't look like the faces have that much to shout about, and if you look at that, combined with the, the elimination match, or the six-man tag match, I should say, which is going to probably be a face win, and then you've got the championship match, which is guaranteed to be a face win, Cena may actually get the win here, just based on how the card measures itself out. I mean, technically, Big E could win the damn match, RVD could win his match, and throw things in the air. So I look at the dynamic of where face and heel wins go, and it's a confusing match to call, because I don't really know who would win this match. It's confusing, because I already said it, we saw John Cena fighting out of his mental quagmire against Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania to win, when we really thought it wasn't possible. So I look at this and think, there's no way he's going to be able to, with that much pressure on his mind, to win it another time. And that's where I'm going to probably stick. Because even though there is potential for Cena to win, and he in all likelihood will, just like at WrestleMania, I'm going to stick with my prediction that I put for Mania as well, and put Bray Wyatt as the victor. Because it just makes sense. I don't even need to say it much. It makes sense. Bray needs a victory at some point, and if he goes on to face Daniel Bryan from it at Payback, making a nice Chicago main event, it'll be intense and insane, so I can see where that goes. I like the sound of it. I want to see it. Now, The Shield versus Evolution in a 6-man tag team match. Two of the most dominant stables of the last decade colliding, and it's so cool to hear myself say that. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Evolution came back, I was on top of the world, happy as Larry, just really, really enjoying what I was looking at. Because now the Shield have competition. Seriously, the Wyatt family, while good, is mostly just Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt alone in that. You know, Harper and Rowan haven't really proven themselves as individuals enough to make them as a unique group be seen as a threat. You look at Evolution, when you have a total combined amount of title reigns that go into the 30s plus, and have had over a decade and a half of experience, hell fuck it, over 20 years of experience between the three of them, you immediately think to yourself, wow, this is the biggest challenge they've ever had. And the one thing I hate people saying about this match is that the Shield are going to get buried with a giant shovel, or 3 giant shovels. Fact of the matter is, they lost to the Wyatt family, and look where they ended up. Stronger than ever. They were the But honestly, that's the only thing I've got here, is that people say, oh, they need to win because the new blood needs to continuously rise all the time. Listen, Bray Wyatt lost at Mania, he got his momentum back just as fast. The same thing happened at Elimination Chamber with these guys. They're not going to lose momentum by losing to guys like Triple H, like Batista, like Randy Orton. But the one thing I'm liking about this is not only is this a match between equals, technically, is that you also have the possibility of looking at where the potential mind games are going to be with this one. I can see where this match is going to go. The Shield are going to do everything and anything, taking as many risks as possible to take Evolution out. And what Evolution going to do? They're going to try and wear down these guys by pretty much using every trick in the book to say, are we going to outsmart these guys by using the entirety of this ring to our advantage? Are we going to methodically beat them down and showcase our dominance in the best way possible as a unique team of strong-willed individuals? Oh, hell yes. And the one thing I love about this match, I'm hoping to God this is the case, that it's a tornado tag match. If it's not, like the Elimination Chamber match between the Wyatt members, then we should still have a good match in our hands, because it will immediately turn to anarchy upon the bloody bell ringing. How much do you want to see that? There is, however, one small, itty-bitty little problem that really annoys me, because this all shapes up for the Shield winning, and I would love to see it, along with many others. In fact, everybody wants to see it. But you look at this match and you think to yourself, Triple H lost at WrestleMania clean. Batista tapped out to the champion. Randy Orton lost both of his title belts. All 3 of these guys kinda need a victory. If you think about it, they need a victory to re-energize their momentum and propel them forward. It's kinda like the idea of Brock Lesnar getting his victories around Royal Rumble and WrestleMania to re-establish his momentum after being away for a while. You know? It gives off the impression that these 3 guys of Evolution need a victory. And the Shield, after already winning in a dominant fashion at WrestleMania, don't really need this. I mean, if they win, and it's a fantastic rub for them. And Batista's apparent departure would necessarily mean there are no rematches for this to happen for a while, until at least the summer. Which would mean the Shield winning would only solidify their dominance and make the Authority look weaker than ever, which really is what they hit rock bottom at WrestleMania. So, even though I want the Shield to win, and I think it would be a fantastic thing to see, there's just something in my mind that is saying, bring Evolution home for the victory. I mean, seriously, Batista will want to leave with a victory and not lose to Daniel Bryan like was originally scheduled to happen, apparently, from what I've heard. But then if you look at the fact that if Batista did get the victory with Evolution, he'd then want to go after Bryan. I mean, that would make valid sense, storyline-wise. But if he's leaving, people don't always get to leave on top. Oh, even though Lesnar did, it's just how he does things. He whoops ass and leaves, everybody knows. So I look at this with the new blood dripping from their mouths, rising to be the best stable of all time, which is where their run has effectively put them at this point. Or is it going to be the old dogs getting a victory after they've all hit their lowest point? And it's difficult, because I've already mentioned in a blog that I've written, which I'm going to post up later tonight, that I believe that it's the right thing for the Shield to get the rub. But after thinking about it, Evolution need that victory way more than they do. And it's really challenging just to think. I mean, we need a face victory in there, and that'll mean the Shield needs it, but this card could, I think for the most part, outside of Paige and Alexander Rusev, have the match easily change. Wade Barrett could easily lose, as I've already mentioned. Cena could beat Bray, and vice versa. Same thing here. And that's the unpredictability I love, but when you're trying to predict a match, it's annoying because it always puts doubts in your head. And you know what? I'm going to probably get a lot of shit for this, and I don't want to, because it's not right to get a lot of shit for this, because it makes sense. But I'm going to go for Evolution. There's just something in my mind that says, story-wise, they need the victory, and therefore they should get the victory. I may love the Shield, and I do. But Evolution need that victory more than they do, and it would just make sense overall to give Triple H a piece of domination injection to be able to say, you know what, I may have suffered that blip at WrestleMania, we all did, but now I'm feeling bloody good. And plus, think about the amount of counters it's going to take to hit someone with a pedigree. And plus, even more storyline ideas, whoever gets hit by that pedigree could be seen as a weak link, thinking Dean Ambrose after he got put through a fatal four-way on SmackDown on Friday. Think about that. Imagine if Ambrose gets pinned after feeling weaker after that title match, to then be told by Rollins and Reigns, what the fuck? Why did you lose that? And of course has to fight his case, yada yada yada. The splinters in the Shield start fraying again, and you know where that's going to end up. So there's a lot of potential there, and I really hope I get to see it. So Evolution for the win here. But just because it makes sense. That's all I'm saying. If you disagree with me, put your reasons why in the comment section. I will read them. Next, and we finally get to the main event. Now, is this going to be the main event? Who knows? Because it seems like the Evolution Shield match is more hyped than this is. But that doesn't bother me, because we have Daniel Bryan versus Kane in an Extreme Rules match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, a lot of people don't like the idea of this match, because it's typical wrestling rated 101. It's small wrestler versus big wrestler, David versus Goliath, and people are believing that it's going to be Daniel Bryan, like CM Punk, who's not treated as the main star of the company, against guys who he knows he can wrestle well against, but not put on the best matches of the night proper in the middle of the card. Well, the one thing is, this match has a lot going for it because of the emotional weight of the story. You know, Daniel Bryan, he wins the world title in the biggest event there has ever been, in the biggest main event there's ever been, in the last, say, 5-6 years. You immediately then have him marry his now wife, Brie Bella, and then his dad passes away tragically, all in the same month. He has a lot of emotional weight, and WWE realised, you know, there's a lot of emotional weight here, and we want, as the authority, to remove Daniel Bryan completely. Who knows Daniel Bryan better than anyone else here? Kane. Who can cause more destruction than anyone else here? Kane. And who is going to be the guy to, in their eyes, take that title off of Daniel Bryan? Kane. And honestly, the one thing I love about this is it's not a David versus Goliath fight centered around that, because Daniel Bryan can take out Kane. We've seen it. Kane has been beaten by Bryan countless times in the build-up to WrestleMania as the corporate Kane, obviously. But now that he's the monster again, we only saw Daniel Bryan beat him once, and that was a roll-up, for God's sake, a couple of years ago. So we're looking at this and thinking, Daniel Bryan can use his own mental and physical strength to take Kane down a bit, but we also know that Kane can decimate a guy like Bryan. So it actually makes it more even and more interesting than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And the one thing I'm liking is these two have been in a long partnership and been involved in each other's feuds for ages. And this is probably going to be their final curtain call. And it's going to end in a very emotional, very intense, very violent, I hope, way. Because then it just makes it all feel good, that we finally get to see an end to this. We finally get to see the violent end to this match like we all wanted to see in the first place when Team Hell No broke up, but then inevitably got detoured because of Bryan's stern popularity. Hell, if it wasn't for Team Hell No, Bryan wouldn't have even gone up the ranks to reach where he is now. Kane has a lot of position in that. And it's great to see that we're finally getting to see the end of this. I'm hoping, based on the emotional weight this is going to have, that this will be a very interesting match. People don't like it because they think Bryan needs to be up against a better opponent, but Kane, for a guy who never gets injured on WWE's roster, for a guy who puts on consistently good performances, who isn't a technical behemoth, you'd think to yourself, he couldn't have gone up against anyone else. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a rematch between Orton and Batista, but technically they gave up their odds to have a rematch when the Shield came in, so yeah, there you go. And having it against Kane just makes the viable amount, especially when Kane had to put the mask back on to make himself be re-energized and get more momentum after losing in such an embarrassing way at WrestleMania. So overall, it makes for an interesting match, but the result is guaranteed. Daniel Bryan is walking out as champion, there is no question about it. Doesn't matter where on the card it is, doesn't matter what happens, Daniel Bryan is walking out as champion because it makes every single bit of sense under the sun. You wouldn't have gone through a 6 to 7 month period where he was being screwed and screwed and screwed to then end up having him lose the title at the first opportunity. And plus, defeating Kane in monster form again would highlight his dominance in the field as the number one. So I'd like to see that more than ever. Also, I want to play this out. Who wants to see a catfight between Brie Bella and Stephanie McMahon at ringside? I do. So I'm hoping everyone else does too, because that psychology is going to bleed out of this. I am hoping it does. And also, that weakened arm. Another piece of seriously, the psychology of this is just making my mouth water, because I'm thinking this is going to be entertaining as fuck. And I'm hoping it is. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this match may not seem like the greatest idea, but you look at it more in depth, and you think to yourself, this has more to it than meets the eye. And it's going to be good, no matter what happens. So, what can I say? It's a pay-per-view, main event or not, that I'm looking forward to, and it'll be good to establish Bryan as a dominant force. So, what's more to love than that? And guys, I'm going to finish up right there. I hope you've enjoyed my predictions. What are yours? Put your comments in the comments section down below. I'd like to hear what you think. And please don't go with all the hatred of the ideas that Cena might win or the Evolution might win and bury people, because that's not exactly what I want to dwell on. In fact, it's just not the right thing to dwell on. If you want to get in contact with me, follow me on Twitter at CreamCrazy, where you get to hear about all my crazy stuff, and you get updates about my videos and their making, which is all good. Also, you can do other things, like subscribe down there if you like what you're hearing. If you like what you've heard, subscribe down there. You can get more content from me, and keep the wrestling stuff going, because yay, we all need that. And you know what? I'm looking forward to this pay-per-view. I really am looking forward to this pay-per-view. WWE's been on a roll since WrestleMania. I felt good after being there live for WrestleMania. I got to return to the TV setting, but it doesn't bother me in the slightest because it's going to be fun. It's back to pay-per-views and I'm loving it. Guys, I have been Cream Crazy. You've been people listening. This has been my Extreme Rules predictions, and I will see you on the morrow for my review. I don't exactly know when it'll be. Probably after the pay-per-view or during the afternoon after I've got some sleep, but it'll be definitely sometime, and I'm hoping I will see you guys there for it. Cheers!